Welcome back to Worth Regular News. This week we have some pretty big surprises with Swedish tanks and some large vessels. So be sure to hit the subscribe button because I want to talk about these Swedish tanks. Starting off with the S tank as a pre-order premium. Well, it's the pre-production variant, the Strv 1030 or whatever. But it's going to cost you $50. It's a rank 5 and it does get you CPT access to the Swedish tank tree when that comes not 1.95 but probably in 1.97. So until the full Swedish tank tree is released, probably the patch after this one, stated on the store page of it, you'll have 3 respawns of this thing in arcade and realistic, which could be really great or terrible depending on how well this tank is. Now, let's get on to how good this tank is. Now, this tank only has about 40 millimeters of armor, but if you can't tell, it's at an extreme angle. An angle so extreme, in fact, that it will deflect just about anything that you throw at it. In fact, I tested this a while back in a prior video that should be linked in the corner, where using the Tiger 105 turret top, which is 40 millimeters, and just angled at the same degrees, and honestly could not penetrate it with anything. Another notable fact about this being the pre-series is that it doesn't have these little bumps that the production variants do have. While in real life, I'm pretty sure these bumps do help out quite a lot. My concern in War Thunder is that they'll allow heat and HE shells to catch onto something and not deflect off the tank. However, this pre-series version does not have them. No real equivalent situation in the other tank in War Thunder to try to test it on, so we're gonna have to wait for that tank to be released, probably in 1.97 or whatever. The main gun of this tank is a Bofors 105mm L74, which can fire an assortment of subcaliber and chemical rounds. I have no idea if that includes APFSDS or is just referring to APDS, although being a rank 5 makes me think it's the latter. But also about this tank is that it has no gun traverse at all. It is purely powered by the hull aiming mechanism that we saw in the VT-12, the event tank from the last event. In my opinion, the hull aiming mechanic was really frustrating to use, so I hope they have polished it up a bit. The bizarre factors of the tank do not end, as it also has 2 different engines, a 240 horsepower diesel engine and a 300 horsepower gas turbine engine, giving it a total top speed of 50 kilometers an hour and a good reverse speed of 44 kilometers an hour. And besides the hull aiming, there's another gimmick that comes along with this tank, good old last man standing, or essentially the commander can control both the hull and the gun. So if your gunner and driver are taken out, he can, after a little bit, take over the tank entirely. However, they didn't specify if this was possible if your commander and driver were taken out per se, and then your gunner would be able to take over or whatever. This weird tank is definitely something that I'm kind of looking forward to, mainly because it just bounces everything. Like everything, it bounces. I think except for like the really high penetrating top tier stuff, which it's not going to face. There's another Swedish tank that didn't get a dev blog, but did appear in the marketplace, and it's quite the meme mobile. The Stav 2012-48, coming into you at rank 2 for $20, is armed with a 120mm cannon that only shoots HE shells. These shells have 2.25 kilograms of high explosive material, which would probably give them a little bit less than 30 millimeters of penetration. Now at rank 2 and only being able to pen 30 millimeters of armor doesn't sound too great, especially if you take in consideration this is essentially just a turretless Chiha shotgun. But it has something up its sleeve, an autoloader that can reload in 1.6 seconds and a max speed of 52 kilometers an hour and 20 in reverse. This is probably going to be one of the dumbest tanks out there, heavily relying on its battle rating, but even at 1.7, in certain situations, the Chiha shotgun struggles quite a bit. I heard someone saying that it had heat rounds, however, the store page speaks nothing of that, and I can't get any other information on the tank, as it has a really strange name. The last tank to be announced this week was the Rooikat 76 Mark 1D, which is a South African vehicle that's going in the British tree at rank 6. Its main gun is a 76.2 that can fire APFSDS and apparently has similar stats to the automatics gun. It's going to carry the new top speed of any War Thunder vehicle at 220 kilometers an hour with 567 horsepower, however only has 30 millimeters of armor. There was one really dumb line in this dev blog which said, in stark comparison to most other ground vehicles offered by the British top tier, the Rooikat 76 Mark 1D will bring with it a new breath of fresh air, so to speak, to veteran British tankers, giving them a chance to command a highly nimble and no less deadly combat vehicle unlike any other current found in the British ground forces tree. It seems Gaijin has forgot about the Daimler and ACE armored cars. In the terms of aircraft, there was only 2 new ones announced, well technically 3. First off was the FFVS J-22, when actually there's going to be 2 FFVS J-22s, the J-22A and B. The A will be armed with 2 8mm guns and 2 13.2mm guns, at least according to Wikipedia, and will have, I assume, weaker Pratt & Whitney engines acquired from Vinci H-75s. The B will have 4 13.2mm guns and Swedish-made engines. Gaijin didn't specify which aircraft will have what speed. They did say, however, that they are going to have a top speed of 560 with a wing rip speed of 650. Generally, these planes sound pretty low tier. I'm going to suspect they're going to be somewhere around the P-36s. The other aircraft to be announced actually came out when I was making last week's video. The B-17A, not that kind of B-17. This one's a monoplane light bomber with a really poor max speed of 400 kilometers an hour and only armed with 2 8mm guns. From those stats alone, it sounds like it'd be pretty low, but if it is really low, it could actually be a really good plane, as its bomb loads are kind of good. It could take out either 9 50-kilogram bombs, 1 250-kilogram bomb, 1 250 and 4 50-kilogram bombs, or 1 500-kilogram bomb. That 500 could make this a pretty good close air support aircraft when tanks come around. Now on to the large ships that I actually kind of predicted. First one coming up was the Prinz Eugen. As a $60 premium, that's essentially a copy-paste of the tech tree variant. However, it has better AA and more crew members, so it can survive longer, because the number of crew members is really just a health bar. In terms of anti-air, this thing is going to have 4 double 37mm cannons, which is actually less than the Admiral Hipper and the tech tree, 6 quadruple 20mm cannons, 2 double 20mm cannons, and 18 single 40mm Bofors cannons, which is a lot of guns. It will definitely be quite hard to attack from the air. The other aspect that makes this just straight up better than the tech tree version is it has more crew members. To be precise, 1,768 crew members, opposed to the tech tree Admiral Hipper, which only has 1,400. So an increase of 368. While I'm sure the additional anti-air definitely needs more crew to function, I'm not sure if it needs 300 more crew members, though I'm not a ship captain, so I can't say for sure. In my honest opinion, it sounds more like guys are just trying to find reasons to sell a vehicle that is just better than the free-to-play version. This is probably the most blatant form of pay-to-win that I've seen on War Thunder. There's been other vehicles that have been straight up better than their tech tree variants, but typically it's not by much. Like there was the Diesel Tiger 2, which had some tracks on the side of its turret that gave it a little bit extra turret armor, though it wasn't enough to stop much shells, and it had a diesel engine with a bit more horsepower and caught fire less. But besides that, the tank was the same thing, and it had the same weak spots, and was just as easy to kill as a regular Tiger 2. However, thanks to Gaijin's crew health bar system that they seem to love, giving the ship more crew just makes it harder to kill than the free-to-play version. And I wouldn't really scoff at 300 plus extra crew members. That's quite a lot. Personally, I feel this could be entirely avoided if they were to get rid of this terrible crew system. There has never been a ship that I've read about that, despite being still functioning, was abandoned because the number of crew members was too low to properly man it. But besides that, the vessel looks pretty cool. It's just an Admiral Hipper, but it has a really nice skin on it. The other vessel to be announced was the Admiral Graf Spee. Yes, it finally came. I've been talking about this thing for, I believe, a year now, when files for its guns had been data mined. Now, at first glance, you might be thinking, whoa man, 280mm cannons? This thing's gonna be OP, but you have to realize it only has 6 of them on 2 turrets, and they don't have the greatest fire rate out there. A lot also relies on the accuracy of these guns. If you can't hit anything, it doesn't matter how big your gun is, and I think most of it actually depends on whether it's going to be 5.7 or not. Seems Gaijin is struggling to get past that battle rating. Also, what I find funny is that secondaries outclass some of the early light cruisers, carrying 8 150mm guns guns and 3 double 105mm anti-air guns. Its other characteristics are actually kind of lackluster, unfortunately. Its belt armor is only 100mm, its cooling tower armor is only 150mm, and its max speed is 29.5 knots, or 54.6 kilometers an hour, which isn't the fastest ship out there. Now, with the other words of ships, there was what was supposedly a leak list of some of the vessels we're going to get. Not names, just types. This was posted to the War Thunder forums on Tuesday the 3rd, a day before the Prinz Eugen and 3 days before the Admiral Graf Spee. The one who posted to the forums was a Ukrainian weeboo, and I didn't feel too much like digging up the post to verify it for myself, so you're going to have to deal with his weird weeb background. But through his translation, it says that the US is going to get 2 destroyers, which we haven't seen any of. Great Britain is going to get 4 destroyers, which we did see 1 of, and Germany is going to get 2 heavy cruisers, which we've seen 2 of. Now, this would be pretty solid. However, there is another ship that was announced, the Sendai class light cruiser for Japan. This was done through an interview on the Japanese games website 4gamers.net. The interview did not directly bring up any questions about certain ships, but they did share images of fully rendered and working Sendai class light cruiser. It is a very cool ship, however, it doesn't seem to have much more firepower than the Kuma class, which when you compare what the other nations are getting, big heavy cruisers and whatnot, is a little bit of a letdown. One thing that was brought up with the interview was the possibility of more anime crossovers, which while a lot of people dislike anime, there are quite a few weebs that play the game, especially those that are interested in the Japanese Navy. Hopefully next time they pick an anime that won't have the FBI jumping through my windows if I watch it. A likely candidate is the Cancol series, as I believe that is owned by DMM, and Gaijin is partnered with them to get research on Japanese stuff. In other news, there are some interesting things that happened in the changelog. First off was the economic changes that I talked about last week got implemented. I don't really feel like going to them right now, perhaps in a separate video, but something else that did happen, originally announced on Twitter of all places, was that now in Simulator, bombers will have to return to the airfield after bombing a base to get 50% of their resource points. They only get 50% for the initial bombing. But now in the assault game mode, you can take a helicopter. And by the way, in arcade, the H1G is now 8.3 opposed to 8.0. And my last bit of news is that I have 2 new YouTube members, Grimace and Samurai. Thank you very much to you two, as well as I Like Them Thick, The Royal Rat, Idi Nahui, Sukabliet, Mighty Peppers, Pointless Gunsig, and Waffly Joker 6. You all make my life less stressful. Thank you very much. If you want to be a YouTube member of my channel, you can hit the join button down below. You get a unique Discord role, which you gotta message me on Discord if you want that, and I'll upload videos to you a bit early. You also get some emojis that you can use on streams. But anyways, if you liked the video, hit the like button. If you didn't like the video, don't hit the like button. If you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. I make War Thunder Weekly news videos every Sunday. I make random videos throughout the week, and I make live streams on Saturdays, so be sure to hit that bell icon to be notified anytime I upload anything. And be sure to follow me on Twitch, because I want to stream there a bit more often, yet I never really know what I want to stream. I was trying to do a XCOM playthrough, but that game is suffering. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video, and have a great day. As for bonus news, the results of the first round of Operation Hotwire has been finalized, and the forum community has once again proved to me that they still eat gravel. They really just voted for more modern stuff, which in some cases is understandable because you're not sure if your favorite nation is going to get the plane it should get, but asking for the F-14 for US, first of all, why would they not add the F-14? And we were nowhere near the power levels of the 14 yet. Well, I don't know, maybe Gaijin is going to add it 10.3 because why not?